Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. What are we doing today?
We're doing Machine Head by Deep Purple.
Machine Head, go! Not the Machine Head band, the Machine Head album, which is nothing like the Machine Head band at all. Before we plough on, there's two songs on here which are like my favouriteest songs ever. I should stress that before we begin. Okay? And there'll be a lot of people watching this sort of ageing rockers who want to hear confirmed how wonderful and perfect this album is because it's their biggest album, and you may not hear that today. So just to warn you, you may wish to close the door now. So we recorded Fireball. We recorded Fireball.
Yeah, we recorded it.
Yeah, they recorded Fireball. We recorded a review of Fireball, but they recorded Fireball. It wasn't as successful as in rock. It was very much a band effort though. So the question is, where do they go next? Much like with Led Zeppelin 3, that was kind of controversial. Where do they go next? But the answer is to go in a very, very commercial direction. This is no longer, what Ian Gillan described as that they were so underground. This exciting, wild live music. This is now a very professional, international band making an album in very difficult circumstances. They all went down to Montreux on the Lake Geneva shore. Frank Zappa played a concert. You can hear the concert on something Smoke Fire or something like that. The whole bootleg's on YouTube. It's quite a good show actually. And it's interesting how much it sounds like Deep Purple. The concert hall burnt down. The whole point of them going there was to try and achieve their live sound on record because they felt, well, with Fireball they'd done studio effects and they recorded it over a long time. It was a studio kind of album, not a live album. So they tried somewhere else. There was another sort of closed concert hall, I think. Smaller concert hall. They tried recording there, and then they had a problem with the police banging on the doors, telling them to stop recording. They managed to just record the backing track for Smoke on the Water, which then wasn't called Smoke on the Water. But whilst the fire was blazing, the smoke billowed down over the water, and Roger Glover decided to call the song Smoke on the Water, about what happened to them. So it was recorded in very difficult circumstances. In the end, they had to go to this old Shining style closed hotel that was closed for the winter. This is December, and they had to record it basically at the end of a corridor there. It didn't sound like a lot of fun. It sounded pretty miserable. It's all first or second take. The Rolling Stones mobile is parked outside recording, and so to hear a playback they had to climb over two balconies and walk round a corner and then go down into a courtyard and then round and blah 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 to get just to hear the playback. And I don't want to slag off Martin Birch, because I like the way Martin Birch sort of captures the essences of songs. So then you have a live version later on, which is much more intense and whatever. But the album version is like the definitive, perfect, safe version of it. I think he did that superbly on Power Slave more than anything else. But this album is very. I think it was John Lord who hit the nail on the head actually when he said it was only when he went back to the album, because they didn't bother listening to the album in the 80s. They just played them from memory pretty much. But when they went back to the album in the early 90s to try and look for different songs, he said it's a very sort of dry and dark album, that they're on a journey, this band that are focused on one thing, and what he's getting at is how sort of, it's kind of very one-dimensional. It's not open to lots of different things, it's just that band doing that, and the very dry production, which was fixed a bit with the remix. It is striking how much better the remix sounds actually, but it is still, not really in your face. It's a very dry sound, a very sort of weak sound, if you like. Surprisingly, for such a big album, And it was huge, of course, but I think they already knew it was going to be their biggest hit before they'd made it. Actually, the accountants had already told them, because of all the touring they'd been doing and what's been happening and etc. That was what was expected, and they had to do it. And it didn't sound like a lot of fun, But they did come out with, obviously, a classic rock album. And I think, if you want some... I want to listen to some rock music now, but you don't want to hear anything from the 80s. Deep Purple are the anti-80s, in a way. If you want to hear normal rock music that doesn't sound like it's from the 80s, and doesn't have 80s-ness at all, Deep Purple, and probably Machine Head, so that's cool.
Kind of anthemic for the 70s, really. Very big album. This is sort of like, I suppose it's like their Paranoid, isn't it?
Yeah. It's actually their Led Zeppelin 4.
It's sort of supposedly one of the founding albums of heavy metal or heavy rock or whatever. It's heavy rock, isn't it?
It's not metal at all.
Not metal. Yeah, it's some good things on there. It is quite difficult to say anything negative about it because it is universally acclaimed as a brilliant album. yet. Oh, well, we'll go to that at the end, I suppose. Art egg rating and stuff like that. It's a good album. It's Deep Purple, you know.
Yeah, and they're all famous songs and
Yeah.
etc. etc.
It's Deep Purple doing what Deep Purple do really well. Probably their best incarnation of Deep Purple.
Yeah, it's the best lineup, isn't it?
Yeah.
Etc. etc. Yeah, yeah. But it was for me a disappointment because when I was younger, when I was a kid, I actually went through the albums. I actually bought In Rock, then Scandinavian Nights, then Fireball, then Machine Head, then In Concert, then Made in Japan. So this was a disappointment because I had such expectation of this being the best one, and I didn't feel it was as good as Fireball and In Rock actually.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, that's very harsh because it is a stylised thing. It's kind of, there's a tongue-in-cheek 50s rock and rollness to it, which is really likeable actually, and really good. And I think Gillan has come into his own as a writer, not just with Roger Glover as well. There's a good Gillanness in there. Although Blackmore wrote 6 of the songs out of 8 that they made, and one of the songs he didn't write didn't end up on the album actually. So it is very much Blackmore taking over again. Whereas Fireball was a band album, well, the last Mark II band album really. So it's very, very Blackmore-y.
Should we review some?
Let's do the songs. Yes. Yeah. Highway Star. The best song. Bleh, the best concert opener in the world ever. The ultimate opener. A song about cars. Etc. Etc. So, and straight away, you get a different feel from the band, but particularly from the vocals, where instead of it's just Gillan screaming into a microphone, there's like a 50s reverb effect on his voice to make it sound like it's from the 50s. There's nothing really like that from the 50s, so it isn't. It's stylised. It's not in a 50s style, but that just makes it fantastic. And you've got obviously the 2 solos are seminal moments in rock. Obviously you've got the sort of Bach-inspired keyboard solo. Not. There it is. It's got the build up to that, etc. etc. It's just got everything. The keyboard solo is as a bigger deal as the guitar solo. What's really telling about the different styles this influence and etc. etc. that on the Machine Head tribute album, you've got 2 versions of Highway Star. The one on the normal version of the album is Joe Satriani, and Joe Satriani plays it a version of the original album version. But the Stevie Vai version, he plays a version of the Made in Japan version, tellingly. I think that's quite interesting, and that really shows you the different sides of it. But yes, Highway Star. And obviously the guitar solo is, well, first of all you've got all that weird stuff with the really strange harmonies going on. Plus you've got the what is not Bach actually, he's actually supposedly Mozart. And then stuff over there, chords, which is supposedly Mozart. Then of course you've got the fast bit there, etc. So that's great, yes, and it's definitive in so many ways, isn't it? Fantastic.
Yeah, I hate Highway Star.
Next song.
Maybe I'm a Leo.
Maybe I'm a Leo. Completely different. This one's much more written by Roger Glover. So I assume it's a Gillan Glover song, and the riff is a twist on the Black Knight, whatever. You can tell it's not written by guitarists because it's in C. But yeah, a bit more introspective from Gillan. It is a different thing, and it's a subdued song. It's not like a wild rock song, but it does add to the melancholy of the album. I mean, they were miserable when they were playing this, and maybe they should have tapped into that a bit more.
Yeah. Maybe I'm a Leo isn't really a standout track. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say why.
It's
boring, is what it is, Kev.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it's because it's introspective and slow.
Introspective and slow is all right. I mean, there's quite a slow and quite introspective song later in the album, which is good. That's not boring.
That wasn't on the album though.
Oh, right, okay. So yeah, I just find it a bit more Deep Purple.
It's another Deep Purple song.
Yeah.
Next song.
Pictures of Home.
Pictures of Home. The riff Supposedly Richard Blackmore had a radio in his hat, because he wore a Puritan hat, which is really silly. And he picked up some, AM transmission of some folk music that had this riff in it. I assume on violin or something like that. Stuff. It is a strange song in a way, and in another way it's very, very straight. But I think of the songs they hadn't already written, the two I think are wonderful. This is the best one for me because it's just a bit off kilter. There's something strange about it, which I like.
I like this track.
Emptiness, eagles, and snow.
Yeah.
So this one is reflecting a bit on the sort of misery of the situation actually.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit swingy and has a sort of odd feel to it, so it isn't just straight rock music, is it?
Yeah, I mean that was the positive thing about Fireball was the sort of variation in the deep purpling that was going on.
Yeah.
And this is a nice little twist, which I kind of thought wouldn't be coming after track 1 and track.
Yeah.
And it's a pleasant surprise. It's a good track.
Never played live with Richie Blackmore. Not even at the very start. At the very start, they played every song on this album, except for Pictures of Home. And then as soon as he left, they played it almost every single concert.
Track 4,
Never before. This was the single. Of course, they had no idea Smoke on the Water was a thing. It was just an album track. And it's interesting. This is their third album, third single. And it is the complete polar opposite of Black Knight. Black Knight is deliberately taking the mick. It's a nicked riff and some mindless lyrics about nothing. Black Knight, I don't feel too bright. This is a perfectly crafted pop song, and it completely bombed. Because it's actually really nice, and there's actually a really nice middle eight that's very sort of Beatles-esque, and there's a really good guitar solo. But it's a pop song, isn't it? It's comparable actually to I think Jamaica. It's that kind of thing, and it's just a little song in the middle of the album. Now I think if they'd have put When a Blind Man Cries there instead of a pop song, it would have lifted the album up tremendously, in my opinion.
I think I'll probably agree with you there. How come they didn't choose to do what they did on the last album and release the pop song as a separate thing and try and maintain some form of integrity?
Yeah, I think actually on Fireball it wasn't intentional. They'd just written another song. It was on the album in America, not the US version. So yeah, and plus they didn't have much material.
Yeah.
They just made the wrong call because Blackmore didn't like When a Blind Man Cries.
They're writing these albums in incredibly short periods of time because they do a lot of touring.
Yeah.
So this is less than a year? Well, they started writing this album on the tour.
Yeah.
For Fireball.
Yeah, the first gig of Fireball, on the coach down, the journalist goes, "How do you write a song?" So Blackmore goes, and Gillen improvises basically Horror Star, and then they sorted it out in rehearsal and then opened the show with it. So Fireball was forgotten almost instantly.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next track, Smoke on the Water.
How do you play it? You don't go staccato. You've got to play it staccato. It should really be fingerstyle. Whatever, but you can play it with a plectrum. You can play the bass note underneath it as well. Kind of stuff. But it's got to be played properly. If you play it wrong, it sounds awful. And if you play the note too long, it should be real staccato. It sounds right. But the reason why those early live versions sound a bit wobbly is because Blackmore's playing it staccato. And of course he's not decided exactly where he's playing those notes. The guy over there, who's all the way on the other side of the stage, is going to try and figure out where exactly he's playing those notes. So that's why it sounds a bit wobbly. But I think as it went on, it sounded better. And I think actually 73 sounded better. I do think, controversial, as a song,
it's all right.
Yeah, but obviously the riff is classic, fantastic riff, etc., etc.
Very memorable.
Yes.
Stuff of great songs. It's amazing. I mean, they obviously thought the same because it wasn't a single.
Yeah.
Yeah. They tuned out. They obviously heard that riff about 3 million times and tuned it out.
Yeah.
And then everyone went, "Ooh, what's that?"
Yeah.
What's that on the radio?
And in the end, of course, it was the live version that was the big hit, with the massive deliberate wrong note in it as well. Not the very sort of dull-sounding, muffled album version.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. We won't go into the story behind it because
we've already said that.
It's too well told.
Yeah.
Track 6.
Track 6 is the best thing you've ever heard in your life. although the first minute is a keyboard solo and the actual song starts at 1 minute exactly. A swinging R&B tinge. I mean, Gillan introduced it as a classic bit of rhythm and blues. I don't know whether that's the right way to describe it or not, but it is the follow-up to Ring That Neck. Fantastic riff, obviously vehicle for playing, fantastic live, perfectly suited to Steve Morse as well. So when he played it as well, it's fantastic.
You'd kind of dismiss the keyboard solo at the beginning there. Oh yeah, it's just the first minute. It's a good keyboard solo.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it is. Yeah. A bit of barkiness.
There's something about the way John Lord plays. Like, I mean, most keyboardists or organists sound like they're trying to be a guitarist.
Yeah.
And they don't quite get there. Whereas John Lord, when he plays a good organ solo, you think there's no way the guitar could do that.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? And although he's playing it through a Marshall, etc., etc.
Something very
There's
unique
nothing
about
sounds
it.
like John Lord.
Yeah.
Apparently, this was the thing that later on Blackmore thought he could just get different people in and do the same thing. And then, no one Rainbow album had the same lineup because he had to keep changing. He said the closest he ever got was Don Airey. But in the end, John Lord is John Lord. Mm-hmm.
Controversial. Not really.
No, it's not.
Track 7.
Track 7, something completely different now. Gillan described this as rock and roll. This is a bit of rock and roll. This is really, when I'm describing how sort of down the line and straight the album sounds, a lot of it comes from this song, because this finished the album, Live was very different because it was a sort of wild performance, and then you had the whole Mandrake Root stuff going on after it. But Richie Blackmore described it as completely deadpan, straight-faced, said there was a TV show called Batman, and I liked that. So he made a riff a bit like Batman. And that's actually where it comes from. So it's incredibly straight, in one sense, but in another sense it's very weird. Straight rock and roll would be, or straight rock music would be like Bad Company or something like that, and they wouldn't do a riff like that. But it's really simple, or complexity mixed with something incredibly simple. And the drumming as well is, I do think that the very, very simplistic parts of the album emphasise the drumming, because these rolls are some of the most fantastic rolls. And I found, it took me a few years to discover this, but the secret of the sort of numb production is to really turn it up really high. And actually the drums are fantastically recorded. And there's some fantastic fills in there.
Yeah.
But the song, and of course on the tribute album, Iron Maiden did it, and it's a very bland version of very, very simple song, and that finished the album.
Yeah. I think the album finishes remarkably strongly. I think, fans love Space Truckin.
Yeah, they do.
Listening to it now, it's great. It's a definite great way to finish an album. Really good. Are we going to review the next track?
I think we should certainly mention it. The thing was, there's two songs that Blackmore didn't write. That's Maybe I'm Leo and When a Blind Man Cries. And it was Richie Blackmore who said, we're not going to do When a Blind Man Cries on the album. He had a narrow, one-dimensional view of where the album needs to go. It needs to be this commercial album. That's what's going to sell all those records. And I'm sure he was right, because it did. But now, we all want When a Blind Man Cries on the album, and he is now. You'd struggle to find Machine Head without When a Blind Man Cries. It's even listed on the T-shirt as the last song on there. So it is on the album now. Although I think it should replace Never Before. Never Before should have been the bonus track. That's the single.
Yeah, it's probably a good show, that is, Kev, because it is very good. When you listen to it as it's presented now, with that on the end, you just think the last 3 tracks are what make this album such a special album. Yeah, and that's preceded by Smoke on the Water. If you're a big fan of that, which most people are really, you can understand why this gets such widespread critical acclaim.
Yeah, but it's obviously good because it's reflecting what's happening at the time and how miserable they are.
Yeah, it's
a cold month in that room.
It's a change of pace, isn't it? Which sometimes is the thing that, if anything, if Deep Purple fail on anything, that's the thing. It's the change of pace.
Yeah.
Not having that. But I think you're right. There is a definite commercial sensibility to Richie Blackmore, and that's probably the result of that.
Yeah. And maybe he was right. Maybe it wouldn't have sold as much It wouldn't have had that hook of playing it at parties and things like that.
But maybe now they would be considered on equal par with Led Zeppelin if they kept tracks like that in there.
Yeah, this is the point where they didn't, I think. And Deep Purple are to a certain extent a what if band. By this time, Blackmore and Gillan were never going to be mates. It was obvious they're completely incompatible. They hate each other, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And it was at the end of this year that Gillan put in his resignation letter and had to play another 6 months of gigs of the same set, which is good actually, because 73 was fantastic. Actually, you can get 73 show. Boston 73 is brilliant. You should listen to that. We've done Deep Purple now. Wow, they've been done. I'm going to give this 4 eggs because it reflects. In rock I go 6 eggs. Fireball I go 5 eggs. This I'm going to give 4 eggs, and that's controversial.
Do you know what? Yeah, I think you stole my thunder a little bit there. I prefer Fireball to this. I go Fireball 5 eggs, so I was going to give this 4 eggs. I just think Fireball's a little bit more creative.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. And then Fireball goes within rock in the same way this goes with the next album. Who do we think we are? Which is even more commercial, obviously with Woman from Tokyo and stuff like that on it. And it was Gillan that said in his resignation letter, it used to be this innovative, dangerous band have become this boring corporate machine, and you can hear it in the music. It's different. It's still brilliant, but it's different.
Well, there you have it.
Hopefully that's controversial enough to get some more hits.
What are we doing next time? We decided.
Oh, it's a surprise, something really different, a bit of a left field. That's your left on the screen, isn't it? Yeah.
So we're going over there for the next video. So you'll be excited about that.
See you next time.
Bye bye.